Hey everybody, this is Perch. How you doing? Real quick before we get to the mail, um, kind of an odd thing. There's a individual, and I've reported the individual, who is, I think, fishing to a number of comic YouTubers, basically purporting that if I pay him, he will provide me a list of Baltimore and New York Comic Con attendees, meaning the creators, the guests, not the fans, but the people who the creators, and that I could get a list of who's there with their address and phone number. And there's a lot of scams out there with this regard, but he provides a little kind of a sample of the services he can provide, and of the five creators there that came in the sample, the phone number that was on there was accurate. I can confirm that it was correct information. So this is douchey behavior. I'm sorry, no matter and the mail is written in a way that it doesn't come across like, hey, here's a way to market to these people. It comes across in a way to let them have it. That's how it comes across. And so it's pretty I don't know, pretty shitty. Feels like somebody associated with those cons got the contact database and is selling it on the side. That's what it looks like. But anyway, I'm gonna reach out to a couple of you creators who were on that list, and kind of give you a heads up. Again, given well, I mean, I'll put it this way: Wade and Scott were on that list, and the information was accurate. So I just not cool. Okay, no matter what you think of their work, just not cool. So put some awareness out there. We'll get in touch, and definitely have contacted the con and say, hey, somebody's selling off your database. I don't think you want this, but not a good situation. Anyway, let's get this mail. It says, hey, Percherino, on the train right now is bored. I thought I'd write to you about some of the things that happened that's been bothering me and hope I can hear your take on it. Number one, Brian Azzarello, my favorite writer in comics. Every second, easily my top 5 lists, along with Brubaker and a few others. 100 Bullets is my favorite comic, as it wasn't around. As I wasn't around when it was originally published, I couldn't experience firsthand buzz surrounding the book, but I can gather that it was immensely popular at the time, as well as 100 issues. Yeah, it wasn't immensely popular. It's not knocking it, by the way. It's just that it grew in popularity and kind of legend a little bit. It's a good book. It's a very, very good book. But at the time, it wasn't like, I don't know. A more recent example might be Something is Killing the Children. That's a book that grew and buzzed over the time. It was popular. Not denying that. Was it the number one talked about book every month? No. But it was popular. It did to spend test of time, and it got kind of more acclaim as it went on. And nothing wrong with that. All good stuff. But back to Mel. It says, Inarezzo is no stranger to controversy, of course. The Bat Penis Killing Joke adaptation comes to mind. But reducing him to minor mishaps such as that seems cruel. That seems kind of pointless. Cruel, sure. Pointless. Yeah, absolutely. Anyway, my question regarding one of his more lauded successes, Wonder Woman New 52. So much for being a fan. I haven't read it yet because I'm not really into superheroes in the moment, but Wonder Woman 52 was, by all accounts, great run by Azzarello. I liked it a lot. It's one of my favorite Wonder Woman runs. It is polarizing. I'm pretty sure I've done a video on this in the past, like just years ago. I don't know why it's so polarizing. I really don't get why. I think it's a good run. I think it does some unique things in it. I don't think it, I mean, one of the arguments against is that it destroys Wonder Woman's canon. I mean, no. First of all, I don't think so. Number two, it's a New 52, so it's a little pocket universe anyway, to a large extent. Number three, like, oh, now we're going to start complaining about things destroying canon? Like, now? I'm sorry. No. You don't get to suddenly decide that this one comic and this one run was the one that changed parts of the origin, and that's the big sin when, Christ, we're doing that every month. But, people be people. Azzarello got people pissed off, and I'm not completely sure why. He did some of the things. You could point to something and be like, oh, he was a jerk here. But who was it, right? I mean, it's like, he didn't do anything egregious that, again, lots of other people were doing all the time and continue to do. Like, we're really going to compare like Brian Azzarello's behavior to his audience to Tom King's? Like, you want to, should we compare and contrast? Is that, anyway. Back to mail. It says, that is until I start seeing a few people on Twitter, of course, drag it for being misogynistic, harmful, problematic, the usual buzzwords, etc. I bring this up now because Azrael recently posted about the new DC compact editions of his book, which gained some traction, with most of the comments under being, you suck, you misogynistic hack, irreparable damage to Wonder Woman, and other screeching. And to no surprise of mine, every single one of these commenters has weird flags, blue hair, the usual paraphernalia on their bios. Now, blatant disrespect for a veteran writer aside, my point is I feel this leads to the much bigger problems affecting the comic industry as a whole. The performative outrage on Twitter and online forums that feed into this fake narrative of whatever it is these people want to performally outrage about. Look, they get attention. You come in, you get attention, you scream. It's not good attention. It's not real attention. You might, if you're really lucky and it catches fire and you've got the attention of a bigger influencer than you that's also going for attention, maybe you get a couple thousand likes, and then what? You go home and you rub one out of the bathroom. What, well, what do you get? I mean, you get a dopamine hit. It is the outrage farming. I mean, as much as I am disgusted by the people who outrage farm on YouTube for clicks and money and super chats, and there's plenty of them, at least you could go, wow, they're making money. They're at least, it's a cash thing for them. The losers who are on Twitter or Blue Sky or wherever, who are just screaming into the wind, again, with a big assortment of the whatever popular cause of the day is in their bio, they're getting nothing. Anyway, I'm telling you this right now because I am going to make an account on Twitter. This isn't a new idea. Someday, I probably won't ever do this because I'm busy, but I'm going to make an account on Twitter, and I'm just going to be the most blatant parody of all of this performative outrage people. And then, I'm not going to do this. It's fucking too boring. Anyway, well, let's keep going. Now, you may be thinking it's your own fault for being on Twitter, reading that bullshit. Probably is. Yeah, probably is. But my problem is that this is just a case of online discourse. Here today, gone tomorrow. It wouldn't be a problem. Instead, comic publishers and actual companies pay attention to these morons and change their strategies to accommodate them. These very few select minorities who cry the loudest. Yeah, it's a major problem. And by the way, a lot of those, performative bullshit, attention farmers then became comic editors. Some still are. Or writers or whatever. Number 2, another example comes to mind is when Jason Aaron was on the brink of cancellation because his depiction of a fictional character in Conan the fucking Barbarian was quote unquote problematic, and some Native American activist hack on Twitter who nobody ever heard of bought a writer with so many classics under his belt almost to his knees. And this is not even my main issue. My main issue was that this comment made maybe the accuser said, "We are not your toys for entertainment, our history and heritage, Native American. It's not for your fantasies." She said, clearly referring to the masterpiece that is Scalped. So what's the point here? Are artists supposed to walk around their tiptoes every time they want to explore and write about a story? Do they have to answer some middle-aged lesbian on Twitter? I often wonder what would have happened if Jason hadn't apologized, hadn't recalled the issue, and instead powered through. He should have. But alas, he's under the charge of the hottest property in DC right now, in Absolute Superman, so I guess he made the right decision in the end, and I can't blame him. I can. Look, I know it's a cliche, but when you bend your knee, and I do hate that expression, but when you bend your knee to fake outrage, you will be bending your knee. Just get down on your knees because you're going to stay there. If you are a creative artist, then be a fucking creative artist. Be a man or woman. Be your art, which means sometimes you will tell a story that's controversial and people will unfairly harass you for it. Sometimes you're going to tell a story and you fucked up. You did the wrong thing. But you should admit it. You should be, adult enough to admit when you fucked up. But that's different from apologizing. Admit things could have gone better and move forward. That's what you should do. I think we're getting to the third third question here, which actually kind of helps prove this point a little bit. But anyway, he shouldn't have retracted it or any of that kind of stuff. Tell your story. You're an artist, man. Be a fucking artist. Tell your story. Live with the consequences. Don't do this. Well, I'm clearly there's a lot of things I have to learn, and since you're not, how many years have we seen artists saying, we're not here to just take orders from fans. It's about a creative story. It's about the story. They always roll out that excuse when it's something like, get Peter and Mary Jane's marriage back together. Then it becomes hey, we're not just servants for the fans. We give them what they need, not what they want. We're not just taking orders here. We're creators. And then suddenly some jackass is like, I don't like the way, as a Romani, your depiction of the Scarlet Witch and is they're definitely hateful. Then suddenly, like, immediately people bend right over. Oh my God, I'm sorry. I will attend to sensitivity training with a coach. I deeply regret the heart that I caused people. I deeply regret the pain. Oh, fuck off. Anyway, let's get to the third question. More recently, we all remember Gail Simone's Nightcrawler panel and how you're in your extremely bigoted and narrow worldview, immediately correlate some non-existent "it's a gay people fuck kids" analogy, so it's offensive rhetoric, wink wink, and everyone dressed you down for seeing it that way. And the next day, the second plane hit the towers when Valiant Comics faced fire for including a supposed trans analogy in their comic. Again, an example of the outrage on the internet by very few, causing a company so much in terms of distress and headaches, and here the correlation was instantly clear. What the hey, dude? I suppose I'm so affected because I'm a writer-artist myself, and I hope to work in the industry in the future, and the sad state of events disturbs me a lot. Okay, once again, first of all, I didn't get dressed down by everybody. I'm looking at the comments of the video. I would say it's about 50-50. People are like, yeah, I see that point, and people are like, nah, you're reaching. Okay? My comment, and I'll say it again, was very simple. When you have a big narrative on social media, when you have a lot of people saying, hey, gay people are groomers, gay people and kids, there's an agenda of gay people and children. When that is a narrative, when that is, and not a fair narrative, by the way, my view, but it is something that people like, that you keep having this correlation between gay people and children and how weird it is and how harmful it is. And there's people making jokes and people making it difficult, frankly, for gay people. Then doing a panel where you throw those two together, first of all, like I said in the comments and to Gail Simone herself, I don't believe Gail's in there like, hey, we're gonna, do. There was no agenda on Gail's part, but an editor should have been like, hey, this is a throwaway panel, really doesn't mean anything to the book. Let's not throw these two together. It just leans into Twitter bullshittery, and it's not like, especially for a throwaway panel in a book, it's not worth it. Like, let's not, like, don't poke that bear. Just leave it alone. That was my point. That was my entire point. Some people disagreed. Totally fine. Totally fine. The Valiant thing is different in my mind, but there you have Rich Johnson stirring the pot because a bunch of creators, because Rich has dirt on a bunch of those creators, and suddenly, it's like, oh my God, he's right. Yeah, okay, fine. You don't have to, with my point of view, you don't have to go, hey, he's right. There's no. It's the major point there was, in a world where there is this bullshit all the time, do your best not to steer into it, because you don't need that. You don't need that trouble. It didn't matter for that book, but whatever. Almost wrapping up this video. So my conclusion is this: how can this be solved? How do we remove that influence of fake fans, angry women crying over some non-existent misogyny in comics, spaces for boys, the type of weirdos, performative jokers on the internet? How can we make companies understand that bending the knee is not necessary? Cheers to you, American Eagle. I mean, American Eagle had the power of Sydney Sweeney's boobs on their side. That is unstoppable. Those are the two unstoppable horses. I got a couple mails during that time. People like, do you find Sydney Sweeney attractive? Yes. Are you fucking kidding me? Yes. Of course I do. I don't know, somebody, I don't know who. Please, I don't want to know who, by the way, but there was somebody was calling out that nobody actually finds Sydney Sweeney attractive, and it's just a or politics. I look, I can't speak for everybody. For me, hands up, yes, yes, she's attractive. Yep, absolutely. She's got she's got that girls next door with some mischief kind of aura to her that it just, yeah, I don't know. Look, attractive, check. You hire an attractive woman with some cleavage to sell your jeans. Yeah, I, I mean, the funny part about the American Eagle campaign, I've seen these articles like, how can companies replicate this? What was the secret that they unlocked there? They put an attractive girl in jeans, and then they had the camera linger around the curves while she kind of rubbed the jeans. Like, what's the big mystery here? Like, oh my God, who could have come up with this marketing campaign? How tricky? Um, I don't know. I have to laugh anyway. Okay, we're almost done. To all the bottom line, since these people will never buy a fucking comic in the first place. And so, in other words, Perch Man, how do we drain the swamp and make comics great again? Yeah, that line won't get us into any trouble. Big fan of your videos. I've been going down the Perch rabbit hole, listening to vids for 5 years ago in order. I'm sorry. While I ink and draw, it's been fun. Caught up on the lore, heard some of your anecdotes, inspired the same, and continue to do so. Keep up the good work. Love to your family. Parakeet and RB sucks. Okay. Um, Look, I think the biggest thing here, the absolute biggest thing, is that comic companies have to reckon with the fact that they really need, a different group of fans to listen to. What I mean by that is the comic creators and comic publishers, people who work for comics, historically, if I go back in time to the 80s and the 90s, there wasn't a lot of reach out to comic stores. Retailers didn't get a lot of, generally comic creators would have their store or, when they hung out, maybe a couple that they knew. But there wasn't a big, let's go hear from the fans. Sometimes you'd get some of that in comic conventions. The San Diego Comic-Con was radically different before a lot of media started injecting into it. But there was kind of a tighter community of retailers, people buying back issues, going to flea markets and getting books and listening to fans. There's more of an ecosystem. Now, today, comic publishers, creators get their input from social media. And why not? It's super easy, barely an inconvenience. They can just log in and then they can go, hi, I'm Jason Aaron. And then suddenly you'll have, a large group of people who will follow, tweet at them. They can post a piece of art and get instant recognition. You can get people like, this is the greatest comic I've ever read in my life, this issue of Absolute Superman #7. And, and then they'd get it again next month for #8. And so it's very cheap, very easy feedback. But it's also, it's not real in a lot of cases. And two, it's junk food. It's coming from a very tiny segment of the audience. And unfortunately, the people who are commenting on you the most and giving you the most feedback via social media are not people buying your comics. This is the greatest percentage of people who are pirating your comics. It's people who are, and this because people will sometimes post a panel. When I was on Twitter, I would post panels from comics from 12 years ago, and there would be a lot of people who would come in and be like, guys, my comic sucks today. They don't know. And I wasn't necessarily trying to trick them. That was actually never my intent. It was people just assume because they're not reading the comics. So it's very cheap. It's very easy to get your feedback from that audience, but it's a very misleading audience. And so the solution to this is comic publishers, creators need to find different mechanisms to connect with fans. And I mean, it's not going to be X. It's not going to be Blue Sky. It's not going to be Reddit. It's going to have to be some different places. I frankly, and it sickens me. I'm going to throw up a little bit in my mouth when I say it. The boards, when you had the Bendis boards, when you had the Warren Ellis forums, when you had the John Byrne forums, that's probably a greater percentage of fans you actually want to listen to. The people who seek out a creator on a forum of their own and talk there, there's definitely, sycophants there and people who are just, trying to fluff the creator, but you're going to get at least a more invested fan who's going to give you better feedback. I mean, it's not of top priority for Marvel or DC, but if DC were to create their own message boards, their own forums, and it wouldn't cost anything. I mean, the tech is free and you do a lot of things there, but you need to at least put a few barriers up between just quickly, rapidly, doing a tweet or, blowing somebody on Blue Sky. You need to put up at least a couple barriers there to make it a little bit more difficult to just throw comments on the screen. That will weed out a ton of people who are not really invested and are just looking for attention. And you need to, I'm not saying those people don't have a right to post. They can, hell, you can do whatever you want, but there's plenty of locations for that group. I'll go one even further. At many of the pirate sites, you have generally an open forum at the end of every comic. You read the comic at the bottom, people can put comments in. As sad as it is, that audience of people putting comments in is a more valuable source of information than Twitter, Blue Sky, YouTube, Reddit. That is actually, you are getting comments from people who in theory read the comic. And so it's going to be a little higher quality, but that's to me, if you want to fix that, you got to fix the input of information. Thank you very much for the mail. Write in. Somebody tell me, was there this big fluff over Nightcrawler and the Gale Smoke and me saying, I think this is dumb, that happened somewhere else? Did this run amok on other channels? Somebody EFAP it? Did Rich Johnson write an article about it? If so, I didn't see it. So joke's on you, assholes. Anyway, thanks for listening.